And we're now recording. So I'm going to start the demo by creating a guide. So if you have not done so already, you should download the Minerva extension. Once you've downloaded the extension, you might need to go ahead and click this little puzzle icon within Chrome, and then click to pin the extension if you'd like to see it. If you don't want to pin it, you could always come back here and simply click on Minerva to open up your extension. Once you've opened the extension, you'll find your guides here. You'll find available guides that other people have created as well. I'm going to start by showing you what a Minerva guide does right here on the screen. So if you go ahead and click Find a Job at AppSumo, for instance, you're going to see that we have step text here. You're going to have a little helper icon here saying, hey, you got to scroll down in order to view that step. You can always move this around if it's in the way. So if, for instance, you want to click this button for some reason, you can move the Minerva widget around wherever you'd like. You can also expand this Minerva widget to see all the different steps that will show up as we're going through. You can close the widget here. There's a menu item here to find, to log out, to go home, find your guides, your drafts, and your favorites. If it's your guide, you'll also be able to see edit the guide. When you click edit the guide, you can actually go in and click to edit any of the text. You can also edit the placement of what we affectionately call Dottie. But let's go back to the minimized mode here. So that's a quick review. Again, this is what we call the widget in the extension. And it is telling me to go ahead and scroll down to view step 1. I'm going to scroll all the way down. And then you see this is what we call Dottie, this flashing dot. So Dottie is going to guide the way for us. So Dottie's telling me to go ahead and click on careers. As I go through, Dottie will then show up again, tell me the next thing to do is to click explore roles. This is the on-screen guide. It's one of the 3 assets that you'll find each time you create a Minerva guide. The other 2 assets are the screenshots with the slideshow and the video. And so in those 3 different assets, you can use them obviously to do a ton of different things. One of the main use cases for Minerva with our clients these days is to use for your knowledge base. So product marketing or product management, creating these guides to help their clients understand how to use their products. And that's it. That was the end of this particular guide. So that's what it looks like to follow a guide on Minerva. I'm going to go ahead and let's go and create a new guide. So I'm not exactly sure what I'll be able to do here. Let's just call this Explore Software Available on AppSumo. I want to draw your attention to a few things before I click Start or Begin to begin actually capturing the guide. You're going to have workspaces, right? So you'll have your private personal workspace, my workspace. You may also have a number of other workspaces that you can place guides in. So for instance, I can put guides into Minerva's library. So not my private library, but my organization's library. Within Minerva's library, we have a bunch of different groups that are there. Now, those groups are collections of people. Oftentimes for us, they're clients. And I can add guides to a group. And in that way, only those particular clients will be able to see this guide. So again, you have a number of different workspaces and a number of different groups within those workspaces. A workspace you can think of as your organization's library. Each group is a subsection of that library that you want to show only to a specific group of people. Once you've chosen your workspace, you've chosen the destination, which is the group, you give it a title, and now you can choose whether or not you'd like to capture screenshots. We do have some post-processing tools that you can use to crop and or blur out sensitive information in your screenshots, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you really just don't want us to capture screenshots at all, you can simply turn that off and we will not capture screenshots. You also have the ability to make a guide private or public here. By default, guides are public, but you can make them private so that, again, they will only be accessible by people that you say should have access to this guide. So that's the beginning screen here for creating a Minerva guide. So let's go ahead and click Begin. Once we click Begin, you'll notice that there is, again, Dottie showing us the way around. Dottie's going to show you what you can capture here on the screen. So for instance, if I wanted someone to click the 49ers, I don't know why, but I could click here. I could go here. This is a larger space. I could click here as well to capture this step. That means then anywhere within this larger space would satisfy the condition to move the guide forward when someone is following it. So I have to be specific. Do I want this? Do I want this? Do I want this? Or maybe even the whole space here. What is the step? What does it look like? And so really I need to figure out what I want to click on amongst everything on the page as I go through. In this case, I said I think we're going to go ahead and look at software, a bunch of different software products that we can look at. So I can click into any of these software products here. And after I click in, it's probably going to be a templated page that is specific to any given software product. So I can choose a specific one, say Snipply if I wanted to, or the one in the first position here really is what it would do. Or, now you're not going to be able to see this, but when I click Shift, you'll notice that now, as opposed to simply being over Snipply and being able to click there, that would choose the one in this position. If I click Shift, this is what we call one of any. And it can say, hey, choose any of these software tools. So once I actually click, that'll capture a step. And if I open up, again, the expanded mode here, you'll see it says click one of any of these. If I want to, I can go in and say, select the software you're interested in learning more about. And you can go ahead and type anything you'd like in here up to 200 characters. Click enter, and I'm going to go back down to a minimized mode. And so from here, I might want to, oh, you'll notice here, this content not captured. So there are places on websites sometimes that are brought in from other places, other services online. This one is a YouTube video. Because it's a YouTube video, that content doesn't live directly here. It's actually from another site, and because of security policies, we can't capture things within that field. So what we can do though is actually we can add a field and say, check out the video. That is a thing that we can do. Now, when somebody follows this, they're going to have to click forward as opposed to clicking within, because again, we can't see the specific content in there. So that is one limitation they ought to keep in mind, is embedding things through iframes, essentially. So we're going to go ahead and maybe we're going to choose one of these tiers. So we're going to go ahead and select your tier. And again, I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at the expanded video, and it says step 4, click one of these. I'm going to say, choose your tier. Okay. And I think that's where I'm going to stop this guide. It's a small guide. We click publish. Now, when we publish, it's going to bring you directly to your guide page here that you can edit on. If you'd like, you can go in and you can change this. As opposed to explore software available on AppSumo, what we did was see the pricing tiers for software on AppSumo. So you can always just come right in and start editing the guide. Click software. If you'd like, you can do the same thing. Say, hi, everyone. First, you are going to click software. And that now is going to be the step text that you see when you follow this guide. We can go through, if I click on edit here, again, if there was something here that I didn't want people to see for some reason, I'm going to go ahead and just edit that out, right? That's the blur tool. We also have a crop tool that we can use. Although I don't think we need to make those changes, so I'm just going to hit cancel and discard those changes. You can delete a screenshot entirely if you click this button. So again, this is hovering over the screenshot. You can edit or delete the screenshot. If you click this delete button here, it will delete the entire step. Scrolling through, select the software you're interested to learn more about, check out the video, choose your tier. All that looks pretty good. Pretty much every time I create a guide, the next thing I'm going to do is actually just follow it. So I click Begin Interactive Guide just to make sure that it's captured everything that I wanted to capture. All right, hi everyone. First, you're going to click on software. That's great. As you click through, Actually, we're collecting more information about the site each time this guide is used. So if it's not very accurate the first time you use it, as the guide gets more used, it actually picks up more information and it gets more accurate. In this case, we used one of any, so I don't actually have to click on Sniply in theory, and I'm not positive this is going to work because I don't know if this next one has a video. I don't know about their tiers, but let's give it a shot, and you'll all forgive me if I get this wrong. I'm going to click on some other bit of software here. Let's be adventurous. So it's going to continue along, right? So the next thing is going to be check out the video, scroll down, there's the video. Now again, since we could not communicate within this frame, what we're going to have to do here to let them know that we're past this step is click continue. So I go ahead and I click continue, and now it's going to tell me to go scroll down and choose a tier. Scroll, 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 and there are my tiers. And I can click any tier, and that was the last thing we did. And so that's the end of that guide. A couple of other things that we'll see here. From this guide, I can share this guide with particular people or particular guidebooks or groups of people. So that'll all show up here. Lux has raised their hand. Lux, if you could, again, we didn't let people speak here because unfortunately you never know what people are going to say in a large audience. I'm sure you're kind and you would never say anything that we wouldn't want everyone to hear, but just in case we turned all that off, what you can do, Lux, is click here and click into the Q&A, and you'll be able to ask a question, and Dan will field those questions. So Lux, if you have a question, please go ahead and do just that. If you can't figure that out for some reason, you can email me or email Dan, Joaquin at or Dan at. Oh, have to drop off. Will we get a recording? This recording is going to go up on YouTube, yes. So you'll be able to find that recording there. I'm going to go back to the demo. Pardon me. And so here we are. So again, we're going to say you're looking at, you can share guides from here. You can turn it private from here. So that's the share guide part. We can copy a link. Now this link, if I send it to anyone, if they click follow, if they have Minerva installed, it will take them directly to AppSumo and it will start the guide. If they don't have Minerva installed, it will ask them to install the extension and then it will start the guide. If they don't have Minerva installed, but for instance, if AppSumo had our SDK, our software developer kit, installed in their site, the end user following the guide would not need to have the extension. It would become a native feature of AppSumo and they can follow the guide here. And so that is where the SDK, the software developer kit, comes in for those of you who are interested in that. So you can always copy the link to start the guide. Each page has a public page. So you can see on this public page, step by step, what you need to do. There's also this slideshow on the public page. You'll notice that we have a video now that's rendered, and you can launch the interactive guide. Let me look. There's a question here in the Q&A. Can you change the color of the pointer to match your brand color? Yes. For AppSumo Tier 2, for our business plan, our enterprise plans, you can absolutely update the color. Can I explain groups and group members? Yes, I'll be able to explain groups and group members in just a bit. So again, you have, I'm going to stop presenting here and just share for a second a specific tab, because then you'll be able to hear the video as well. So you've seen the interactive guide, you've seen the slideshow, and I'll show you how to embed the slideshow. I'll show you how to embed the video as well. But the third thing that you'll get as well is a video.
Hi, everyone. First, you are going to click software.
So you can see we edited that. It actually said what we
select the software you're interested in learning more about. Check out the video. Choose your tier.
For the white labeled product as well, if you're creating a guide on your domain, these video bumpers, the intro and the outro where you see Minerva here, that can also be updated to your branding. The voice there, people have asked, you cannot update the voice. That is the voice we have, but you can always, and I'm going to come back and share in a different way because Google Meet makes it hard for me to share in one particular way all the time. So you can always come in, though, and edit what the voice says by simply editing the step text. If you would like to embed either the slideshow or the video, what you can do, and I'm going to use a tool called CodePen here. CodePen allows me to throw in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript here just to see what would happen on the page. So there's nothing special about CodePen. It's just a place where I can copy this code. So this is the embed code for the slideshow. If you put this embed into your knowledge base, for instance, if you can put HTML into your knowledge base, you can embed this guide into your knowledge base, and you'll now see that you've got a slideshow. For those of you who have white labeling, the slideshow will also take your brand colors and, pardon me, will put in your logo here as well. You can do the same thing embedding for the video. So if we go ahead and take that, we can throw the video in here. And again, same thing will happen. You'll actually have the video showing up. And again, if you have your white labeling, the bumper here will actually show your logo. Quick question, how much text can we type in slide of the guide? You can type in up to 200 characters. The reason why we're limiting that is because more and more characters into the video makes the video way longer, and we haven't solved for that just yet. Eventually, we hope to allow you to have more than 200 characters, but right now, the limit is 200 characters for each step. Okay. Close here, close here. You can also download the video. The reason why we would suggest using the embed features over the download features is because when you come back in and you edit the step text, if you edit the screenshots, whatever you edit, if you've embedded the video or you've embedded the slideshow, or if somebody clicks on the link, they'll see all of the updated content. If, however, you download the video and then you post it someplace, you will not see the updated content. It will just be whatever it was when you downloaded it. So it's a little bit more convenient, we think, to go ahead and embed the videos as opposed to downloading and embedding in that way. We have now advanced settings. Advanced settings, probably most of you aren't going to need to mess with, but there are a few things. Do you want this guide to always start on the exact URL where it was created? So the first step, do you want us to redirect people directly to that first step every single time? This works well for most cases. However, if I wanted to show you how to change advanced settings in a guide, if I started from here and I created the guide right on this page that showed you the advanced settings, and this would work pretty much, this is a template for any guide. However, if I put that on, it would then redirect them to this very specific organization and this very specific guide, right? So that's what these numbers mean here. It's an organization's ID, it's a guide's ID, and they would try to redirect you here. However, most of you would not have access to this. And so you would see on the page some sort of an error saying you don't have access to this guide. So you might not want to have it start exactly on this page every single time because this is a specific page. In that case, what I would probably do is start from your workspace and then navigate to a guide and then navigate to the advanced settings. And I wouldn't turn this on. However, if you're doing customer support and you know exactly the record that you want the person you're supporting to start on, you just turn this on and it'll take them directly there. They don't have to do all the other navigation. Subdomains. So for instance, Minerva, we use app.minervaknows.com. That's our main app page. We also have staging.minervaknows.com. That's where we do a little bit of staging and some demos. And so if I want to make my guides available not only on app.minervaknows.com, but on other ones, I could turn on subdomains. This is especially useful if you create a subdomain for each one of your clients. So it could be acme.minervaknows.com is Acme's private instance of Minerva. We don't have that feature, but if we did, We could use it for Acme. We could use it for AAA consulting.minervanose.com. So long as we turn on subdomains, that guide would be discoverable on all domains across your site. Finally, we have this universal setting. This is the most flexible setting. You could enter a URL where you want to redirect them to, as opposed to that first step. You just say, hey, every time this guide launches, redirect them to this specific URL. Or you could even just give them directions. Type out some directions, say, hey, first navigate to the guide that you want to update universal settings to. That'll show up on a page, then they can go navigate. As soon as they hit that page, the guide will resume and it will help them find the universal settings. So that would be all the different ways you can change settings here. Don't forget to click save. I did leave this toggled, but I didn't click save. And because of that, when I come back, you see it's not toggled. So don't forget to hit save once you've changed those universal settings. And of course, you can go ahead and delete the guide. From here, you can also say this is published or a draft guide. You can turn it private if you didn't want the world to be able to see it. You can also favorite this guide so that you have access to it in your favorites. The next question was about groups. I'm actually going to go into our staging environment, staging/app, to show you different groups. So here we created an onboarding organization. In this onboarding organization, we have guidebooks. So if you'd like, you can create a demo guidebook for our tutorial. Guidebook is simply a collection of guides. Now that we've got this demo guidebook for our tutorial, I can take this guide is for everyone. For instance, click the share guide and do demo guidebook for our tutorial, share the guide there. And now this guide is going to show up in demo guide for this tutorial. For that guidebook, I can come in. I can also say, where should this exist, right? So I can use, if I want to exist everywhere on my site, I would simply use the main domain, www.minervanose.com, for instance, and an asterisk saying, hey, show it for everything that comes after that. If I wanted to show it for every organization, for instance, I might use something like this. So you'll see https : this minervanose.com/app/org. Oftentimes in URLs, you're going to see something that looks like this. This is an identifier. Now, again, if I want someone to only see it on the specific page for the specific organization, I can leave that in. But in Minerva, we give you the ability to put in an asterisk as opposed to that identifier. Now, that will show up on every organization page. That's just what we call a wildcard. It now allows us to simply show up across all organizations if you want to put a specific location for this guidebook. Now, guidebooks are shown either to everyone. If you don't put a guidebook into a group, it would be shown for everyone through your launch center. This is our launch center. Or I can go in and say, hey, for general input, I actually want to move this guidebook there. Demo guidebook for our tutorial, save changes. Something funny is going on in our staging environment right now. Again, like I said, this is where active development happens. But in theory, that would then put this guidebook within this group. Now, that group has a number of different things. We can put in guidebooks and guides. And we can then identify who those guidebooks and guides should be available for. If we have the SDK installed, again, the SDK is the software developer kit that you can then use to identify users on your site and give them access to your Minerva guidebooks and your Minerva guides. So if I went in, I could come in and say, hey, Joaquin or Akshay should have access to these guides. And those will be the only people who have access to these guides because I went and did that. I can do that manually. The software developer kit allows your developers to do that as well, so that that can be generally populated for you. So again, the SDK user identifier are the folks that would be able to see the guidebooks when they come to your site and launch the launch center, what we call the launch center here. Now, if you wanted people to be able to add content to this library, you come in and manage users. And then those users, anyone you put in here, You can either let them view this content within Minerva, or you can make them an editor, which means they'll be able to add and update content that's already in this space. The reason why you might want to do that is if you have a champion in a client organization, they're the person who's the main driver of implementation for your software within your client's organization. You can tell them, hey, you can use Minerva too in order to share these guides with your colleagues. Then when they create a guide, they'll be able to put it into this group, and then it'll show up for their colleagues here as well. And so you're empowering your client champions to create a custom knowledge base for their organization on how they use your software. And that's generally where you would want to use manage users. That's the limited number of folks that you have through the AppSumo deal. How many users can we have who can create Neta guides? I believe we made this up to 100 people per group. You can have as many people as you'd like here. The SDK user identifier, that's unlimited. I believe up to 100 people here. You're never going to need 100 people, I don't think. And you'll have up to 10 different groups for the AppSumo deal. So that's groups, guidebooks, guides, the SDK, managing users. You can go in here to manage your SDK settings. This is where you can change your brand color. So if I want to come here, so this brand color here is red. Let's change this to a nice blue. I'm going to go ahead and save changes. Maybe I don't want it to say need help. Maybe I want to say hello world. I don't know why I'd want to say that. Click save. I can also change the position to the left-hand side, and I can change the offset from the left or right, down, up, down. Save changes. When I refresh, you'll notice now that it shows up over here, different color, hello world. Let me turn that back to the other side, right-hand side, and I'm going to say find help. I don't know why, but that just makes more sense to me. I refresh it, and you'll see it says find help.
Joaquin, there's a couple more questions here in the chat.
Great.
One about changing the language of the voice, I believe, in the videos to Spanish.
Got it. So we do not have Spanish support just yet. We have a larger enterprise client that we are implementing Arabic support for, and so Arabic should be coming soon. Soon thereafter, we'll be able to update for other languages as well. So we should have that soon. We cannot do that just yet. And then can groups be used as brands? For example, one brand group for one client and another for a different client. Can you change your branding based on groups? No. Could you use that for different brands that are using your software? I suppose so. You could use this any way you'd like. You could use it as a user persona per group, a client per group, anything that you want in a grouping. It's a fairly generic thing. You're basically just adding email addresses or an identifier there to say who should have access to this content. So you can use that group in any way you'd like, but no, it'll be one consistent branding across all groups. Especially for the AppSumo deal, the branding, pardon me, the branding is only going to show up on your domain. So the domain that you've installed the SDK, that's where your branding is going to show up. On other guides outside of your domain, it won't show up there. This is really just a setting that we created so that you create a knowledge base for your product.
Joaquin, it might also be helpful to highlight the members menu option there and to differentiate between members of the workspace or organization and groups.
Yeah, so within a group, like I said, managing users allows you to add people who can update content within a specific group of your organization. Over here, members are people who can manage content for your entire organization across all groups. They'll also be able to create groups for your organization. Thank you, Dan. Okay, I'm going to stop presenting there. I think that was a pretty decent walkthrough of how to use Minerva, but we have another half an hour to take any questions that you all may have. While I sip my coffee, please use the Q&A function.
Yeah, so feel free to throw some questions into the Q&A, anything that wasn't answered here. Joaquin, I think also one of the questions we've been seeing recently is around installation of the SDK. So we didn't cover that at all. If you want to go over that briefly, that would be great, I think.
Yeah. So for most of you all, it depends on how technical you are, but what you're going to want to do is simply go to Manage SDK Settings, copy this code here, and put that into the HTML. Now, it's not going to work at CodePen because each SDK key is connected to a specific domain, for instance. And so this isn't going to work here, but what you would typically do is you're going to have some HTML and then close HTML. This is what your web page is going to look like. And then you're going to have something that says head, and it's going to be close head. And you just want to put that script tag right there in the header. And then there's going to be something here that says, hello, world. This, if CodePen.io/pen or if CodePen.io were tagged to this particular API key here, then the Minerva widget would pop up here. So that's all you really need to do. Find the header tag, copy and paste this bit of code that you'll see in your software into the header, and you'll have the ability to turn on the launch button. So I can turn off the launch button actually. So if I went here and I clicked off, save changes, and I refresh, you'll notice that we will no longer have that launch center. Turn it back on, save changes, refresh, and the launch center is back. So if you turn on the launch center, if you put the script into the header, and we have a domain associated with this specific API key, the launch center will show up. A couple more questions I see coming in. Question, is the code for the SDK JavaScript? Yeah, it's JavaScript. It is a line of JavaScript that you have to put into your header. You mentioned we can have 100 members for each group. How many can we have in terms of teammates in our organization? I'm going to pass that off to Craig because I'm not sure I know. Craig, do we have a limit there? Craig is here. He's one of my co-founders. Craig.
I do not have a limit.
You don't have a limit. So feel free to create as many folks as you'd like as team members as well.
Cool. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. In the Q&A section, we'll get to them. Joaquin, I think it might be helpful for folks to understand where they should get started with Minerva. What are the kind of the steps that they need to complete? What should they do after they purchase?
So the first thing you're going to want to do is download the extension. Right? Downloading the extension gives you the ability to create guides. If you have the SDK as part of your roadmap, you're going to want to make sure that you put in a domain when you log in, when you sign up, that you're going to want the SDK to be tagged to. Then you'll be able to copy that script and put it on your domain. It'll show up with a launch center. Once you've got the launch center, nothing's going to be in the launch center until you start creating guidebooks. So you create guidebooks and you associate them with particular groups or not. That's up to you. And you associate them with particular locations within your domain that they should show up, these particular guidebooks. Now those guidebooks will show up, but the guidebooks don't have any content. So then you need to start creating guides and populating the guidebooks with content. At that point, you're going to want to make sure you have the right SDK users, the people who would be able to see the content in the Launch Center. Those are the SDK users. And if you want to add managers to those groups, folks who can add content to those groups, you do that as well. So that's typically the way that you'd go through, and you'll be able to see all the different content start showing up within your Minerva implementation. A couple more Q&As I see. Are the videos propagating for everyone, or am I the only one that's having a problem? Hey, Bo. So there's a couple things about the videos. If they are, and I'm not exactly sure how many steps, but if they're 30 steps or longer, I don't actually think that the videos are going to work right now. So we're going to have to update one, first to let you all know that. Two, we're going to work on making it work for larger videos, but right now it's probably up to 15 or so steps. Don't take me exactly for that, but I think that's right. Two, if your guide is missing 2 screenshots in a row for whatever reason, it will also not populate a video. The video will not generate if it's missing 2 screenshots in a row. The thought there is that it would be pretty confusing to have the voiceover and nothing changing in the video. It'll seem like that video is broken, and so we don't generate videos there. Right now, the error messaging is non-existent basically for those videos as well. So if it doesn't render for some reason, it will look like it's still processing. You should simply email me, email Dan, Dan@minervaknows.com, Joaquin@minervaknows.com, and we'll make sure to get those up and running for you. Can you add more domains to the SDK settings? As of right now, it is 1 domain per SDK. And so that's part of that AppSumo deal, is that it is just 1 domain. If you have a really good use case for more than 1 domain, please reach out to me. On a case-by-case basis, we'll try and help. But the AppSumo deal is 1 domain per SDK setting. Can Minerva be used in academia, K through 12, like teaching math or science? I don't see why not. It would have to be a specific use case where you'd want to do something within a browser that is step-by-step. But people have been really creative with what they've been able to use Minerva for. And so if you do use it to teach math or science, I'd love to see it. Share that guide with me. If you can see a way of using Minerva anywhere, go for it. We've had people supporting older relatives, figuring out how to sign up for a web service to see pictures of their kids, or we even had some guides to help people learn how to register to vote or find their polling place. One of the most popular guides on Minerva has been finding your driver's test results for the DMV in New York. Don't know why that was such a popular guide, but it is. And so people use Minerva in all sorts of different use cases, and we love to see that. We love to see the creativity. I love these questions. Keep them coming. Or not, and I'll have more time to finish my coffee.
Joaquin, there might be an opportunity to talk about Socrates and the AI here as well, because that's something that we also didn't mention. Other things that folks can do with Minerva.
Yeah. So a lot of you asked, why did we launch Minerva on AppSumo? Minerva is, at its core, an enterprise product. And actually, some of the difficulties we've been having with folks from AppSumo is because we've really focused on our enterprise clients. And so Dan, who's our head of customer success, has been onboarding every single client one-to-one. We've been giving a lot of people a lot of face time. We've been trying to do that with as many of you as possible, and then also putting on this onboarding, hopefully to help as well. But Minerva really is broadly an enterprise software. We launched on AppSumo because we want to have more of a kind of a broad bottoms-up motion. So we want to create a product that's really useful for folks like you, that's very accessible in terms of price. We even have a really robust free product. So we appreciate you all signing up and sticking with us as we go through and try to make it better and easier for folks like you all to use. We'll continue to do that. But on the enterprise side of things, for folks who have enough clients, enough people using their software, that we can run our AI on the system. What we do is we observe all of the different sessions that are happening in your app. From those sessions, we find the common journeys, the common paths through your system, and we automatically create guides for you. And so that's the AI. That's what we call Socrates. And our AI tool is typically used for enterprise clients. And because of the costs of running that tool, that's a much more expensive tool. It's not available through the AppSumo deal. But if you are interested in the AI and you think you might have a use case and enough data for it to work, please do reach out, and we can really automate the process of creating and maintaining your knowledge base for you. Peter asks, is there a storage limit? There is no storage limit, not right now. We haven't found that we need to do that just yet. So no, right now, create as many guides as your heart desires. I assume at some point in the future we'll have to put one in, but right now, no.
Craig, maybe I'll ask you if there's any other questions that you have seen that we've been getting a lot of recently that we didn't address here that we should.
Yeah. Thinking.
Craig's at home with his 2 kids right now, and so that's why he's keeping himself on mute.
I think you covered the big ones.
Another question from Peter. Peter, thank you so much for asking the question. It's really helpful. Can you update the description in the AppSumo deal clarifying that we have unlimited teammates for the organization? Craig.
I'll look into it. We haven't updated it yet. I presume we can update it. So we'll try.
Great. Public versus private video settings. Can we only share videos on the site that are public? As of right now, the slideshow and the videos are only for public guides. We're working on a way to make that work for private guides as well. It's an interesting problem for us because we want to make sure that if you create something that's private, that it stays private. We also don't want to expose different settings that you might be able to share one particular private guide, but then would that expose all the other private guides because of the way we've done it? So we're working in that direction. We haven't pushed that out just yet, but that should be coming fairly soon. The most important thing for us is to maintain the integrity of your private data. So we're erring on the side of making those things not public just yet, but we're working on it so we can do it safely.
Maybe we'll leave a couple more minutes in case folks want to put any other questions in the Q&A. Since we have about 15 minutes left that we've allotted for this meeting. But if you don't have any more questions, then we'll let you go early. Peter just dropped one more in.
Unlimited guidebooks and unlimited guides in each group. I believe that is correct. Craig?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, folks, another moment here, and then we can sign off. Okay, we got a couple.
Is it possible to change the screenshot if it's wrong? This is actually a really good question. Let me go back and show you the best way of doing that. So where did I put that guide? Nope. Is it in Minerva? There we go. Where did I put this guide? Oh, I did that in production, didn't I? There we go. Okay, so we're back here in the AppSumo one. So if I wanted to change one of these screenshots, I don't know which one would be obvious. Let's change this one, right? So this was the one from Snipply. Let's find a different video screen. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Nope, don't delete the step. Don't delete the step. Delete the screenshot. So there you go, delete. So I didn't like that screenshot. What I'm going to do is now click, until you have a screenshot missing, this will be grayed out. You cannot use this feature. But once you've deleted the screenshot, you can go ahead and generate screenshots, click begin, and it's going to take us back to where we were. I'm just going to retake the screenshots as we go through. Actually, what it's going to do is only retake the screenshots of the ones that are missing screenshots now. And so it's telling me to check out the video. This is also another good way to show you. We can go ahead and edit this guide. So let's say it should be here. Or maybe we just want to click that. Okay. Click save, finish, and that's going to now show just that. click here, scroll down, click there. Okay, and now if I go back and I click here, we've got a new screenshot, or we should have a new screenshot. Maybe because I was editing that didn't work. Let's try it again. That was interesting because I edited the guide while trying to update the screenshot. So let's try it again. And now if I cross my fingers and toes, we've got a new screenshot. So you can delete a screenshot, click regenerate screenshots, and it'll update the screenshots for you.
So I think important to note there that you can't right now upload your own screenshot. You can just go through and have it automatically take the screenshot for you.
Bo asked, does the group member have to have the extension installed? If you've got the SDK installed on the site, the group member does not have to have the extension installed to follow the guides. If you want the group member to be able to add guides to the group, then yes, they need to install the extension in order to add guides. Peter, thank you. Excited. How many members of the team do you have in the company? We're at like 10 now, I think. So we're still a pretty small and hopefully mighty team. So we're growing hopefully soon. Tanya asks, I assume that once we upgrade to tier 2 or business tier, the steps counter that appears on the right side will not be visible on the screenshots anymore. The step counter is visible, where there's a couple of things that you can do there. So you'll notice that in the shot that I took, it's actually going to change the step counter in there so you can maximize or minimize. What we're going to do, now the problem with that is each time we take a screenshot, I'm going to create a guide, delete me. This has to be here somewhere so that when you are doing things, you can, for instance, open this up, delete, edit, etc., or click publish, click pause. By the way, you can click pause, and now it's not capturing anything as we go through, and then you can unpause to resume, and it'll start capturing things again. So we're not going to get rid of this in its entirety. We are working on a way to make this a lot smaller and less intrusive. It'll also, on your domain, have your brand colors here as well. But the screenshot is going to contain that, the widget as well. Once the videos are propagated, can it be changed if there's an error noticed? Absolutely. So again, the videos, if you come in and you edit the text, or if you edit the screenshot like we did down here, 3 minutes after that, the video will regenerate and update the screenshots, and they'll update the step text as well. Is CNAME included in the AppSumo deal? We don't have any DNS services just yet. So what you'd have to do right now is embed the content that you have, the slideshow, the video. You can embed that with an iframe anywhere that you have access to HTML. You can also embed our launch center anywhere that you have access to put in the JavaScript. For that whole page, we have not created the way to brand that page or point domains to that page yet. If you're interested, Peter, I'm sure my co-founder here, Craig, he's our head of product. If you'd like to sit and chat with him about your use case there, I'm sure Craig would be really excited to hear what you'd like, and we can maybe get that onto the roadmap. Again, I'm just Joaquin at Joaquin at minervanodes.com. Dan, head of customer success, Dan at minervanodes.com. My co-founder, Craig, may surprise you or may not to know that that is just Craig at minervanodes.com. And so, Peter, feel free to reach out to one of us and set up some time, because I'd love to hear your use case there for sure. Bo, what is the optimum number of steps for video generation? I wish I could tell you that. I don't know yet. We didn't even realize that the video was going to run out of memory in generation before folks like yourself, Bo, and we appreciate you hitting the system as hard as you can, created guides that were longer than we expected, and we ran out of memory. So I'm not actually sure what the total number is. I know that up to 10 or 12 steps, I think probably up to 15, you're fine. But above that, I'm not positive. Will we eventually be able to add websites to the SDKs ourselves? I'm not sure what the question is there about. It's generally the opposite, so that you take the SDK and add it to the website, but the SDK is connected to a domain, a specific domain. We have not offered multi-domain per license yet. Like I said, if you have a specific use case, or if you're just trying things out, basically, and you've got a bunch of different ones and you're not sure what's going to be the successful one, and you're just trying to play around with it, you should reach out to me and I'll do my best to help you out so you don't have to buy multiple licenses. But officially, each API key is tied to a domain. We may, on a case-by-case basis, help you out with a different API key for a different domain, assuming you're not getting millions of views and millions of hits on each domain. Thanks. My pleasure, Bo. If you can't tell, Bo and I have spoken a few times. Bo's a great guy. Will we eventually be able to add websites to the SDK? Oh, this is the same question above. I just missed that. 5 more minutes. I'm happy to sit around and answer any questions you've got. You all have our emails now as well, so feel free to do that. Can we have more than one workspace in our account? Again, the workspaces are per domain, but Peter, if you reach out to us, would love to hear your use case, and we might be able to help you out with that on a case-by-case basis. Again, officially within the deal, it is one workspace, one API key, one domain, but reach out to me or Craig, and again, depending on the use case, if we don't think it's going to obviously hurt our cost structure a ton, we would be very happy to help you out. But we just need to connect first and understand what's going on to make sure that we're not promising something that'll hurt the business. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. And for the rest of you who have stuck around, I appreciate you sticking around and your interest in Minerva. We really do want the feedback. Like I said, we built Minerva and to date served mostly enterprise clients, but we really do want to do our best to serve smaller business owners, solopreneurs, folks like you all. We're doing our best, and so we'll try and do you proud. Is there a roadmap on your website? Can we see the next steps in the program? We don't have a public roadmap. I know that my co-founder, like I said, Craig, he's the head of product. He's actually interested, I think, in presenting that someplace, but we haven't figured that out. And we've been so focused on adding features and fixing the bugs that you all are sending our way that we haven't done that. But I think we would like to do that. We just don't have that yet. Tanya is excited to use. Thank you, Tanya. And if we can help, feel free to reach out. If you're confused, if we need to help you with something, please do let us know. Thanks for the demo. We'll be waiting for Spanish. Claudio, I will be too. We'll
Claudio, just to clarify, so you can currently you can enter the step text in Spanish. So we actually do have a lot of folks that do that now. So you can use it for that. I think you're meaning for the videos and for the voiceovers. So certainly that will be coming, but you can create the guides and use the step text in Spanish currently.
Yeah, we actually have folks using Minerva in lots of languages that I do not know. I remember the first time I followed a guide in Japanese. It's interesting. I could find exactly where to click on the screen. I had no idea what I was doing. So there is language support in that way. But yeah, for videos, that'll come hopefully soon. Thank you, Dan.
Great. I think we can wrap up here. I'm not seeing any other questions coming through. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. And like Joaquin said, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Thanks, everyone. Looking forward to hearing from you.